Fast and convenient motorcycle taxis are steadily gaining popularity as a mode of transportation. But then there's always that issue of safety. Would you take a motorcycle taxi? Good evening. I'm Ruth Cabal. This is On the Record. Our guests for this episode, George Royeca, Head of Regulatory and Public Affairs of ANCAS, Jobert Bolaños, Chairman of the Motorcycle Rights Organization, and Darwin Paz, Legal Service Chief of the Highway Patrol Group. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Okay, una muna, the DOTR has issued guidelines for the pilot implementation of motorcycle taxis together with ANCAS. Can you tell us what to expect, what's going to happen?
Yes, we're very thankful that DOTR has made this step. The TWG has now approved a pilot test for ANCAS. So expect the transport services of ANCAS po to go back on the streets. Right now, we're retraining all of our drivers based on the additional safety guidelines that was put on the conditions for the pilot testing. And hopefully, in a week's time, we should be able to ply the streets again for transport services.
But parang it's the same as your operations before, na gagamit ng app. How will this go?
So app-based pa rin po siya. So you book through the app. All the bookings are made through the app. We have new specialized equipment, which is a vest for identification. So it has the handles in the back, so you can hold on to the biker and you preserve the center of gravity. Thus, we also have a passenger safety card. Every single ride will be treated, each passenger will be treated na parang bago po sila, kahit luma ng pasahero. And they will be shown the safety passenger card and different tips and different requirements on how it is to become a pillion. So ngayon po, we put emphasis on the passenger. Responsibilidad din po ng passenger, katulad po ng driver, to ensure that the ride on the road is safe. Meron din po tayong gagawin na passenger safety campaign sa billboards po, sa online, mga videos po natin that will really focus on the passenger, on how to train them to become a proper passenger for a motorcycle taxi.
Siyempre, naging issue to before, kahit na maraming mga habal-habal na, di ba, sa probinsya, pero naging issue to before dahil wala talaga tayong batas that allows yung ganitong motorcycle taxis. But aside from that, on the part of HPG, ano po ba yung mga concerns nyo before dito sa mga motorcycle taxis?
Yes, ma'am. First and foremost, the motorcycles are used privately. Now that it is being introduced to be a motorcycle taxi, nagta-transform yung nature ng paggamit ng motorsiklo, especially on the part of the drivers. From private motorcycles, they become public transport vehicles, which in turn they become common carriers. If they are common carriers, extraordinary diligence is required. They should observe this extraordinary diligence. Otherwise, yung mga paggamit po natin ng motorsiklo, tapos may mga pasahero na they are unrelated, medyo hindi maganda yung kapit ng mga pasahero, magkakaroon tayo ng additional road crashes, which will contribute to the statistics na magiging problema na naman natin in the future.
Pero yung in terms of yung mga traffic violations, anong nakikita nyo dito?
Yes, ma'am. Marami po tayong mga traffic violations na nakocommit ng mga kasama nating mga riders ng motorcycle, which is why we took this opportunity to be a member, when we were asked to be a member of the technical working group, to introduce yung mga safety standards na which ito namang ride-hailing app na ANCAS, they committed naman to observe the standard and the proper safety measures.
Kayo, George, on the part of drivers as well as passengers, ano yung gusto nyong pinaka-ma-address na concern dito?
Well, yung kakulangan kasi ng education sa mga riders natin, first and foremost sa pagkuha ng lisensya, all the way to getting on the road, starting a motorcycle, driving it on the road, and plying the streets. Kulang na kulang talaga yung level of education natin. It's so easy to get a license, napakadali din kumuha ng motorsiklo. So with this platform, we hope to set the standard of the future. Because ang gusto natin, mabigyan ng proper testing and training ang bawat rider na lalabas, especially yung mga new ones. That way, palabas pa lang sila, na-address na natin yung discipline factor. Kasi yun ang wala talaga eh. Wala talagang disiplina sa kalsada. So, while we set the standard using this platform, nakikita na agad natin kung saan yung mga loopholes, saan yung mga butas, and then we can fill that up. And as soon as we get a law, we're hoping that it does become a law. We go to the side of regulation to control these issues.
Yun nga, you mentioned yung pagkuha ng license or yung kulang ng disiplina and then yung mga motorsiklo. Of course, angkas can't deal with that initially kasi nga yung license hindi naman sa part ng angkas. But then, how do you bridge yung ganong kakulangan sa sistema for now na napakadali makakuha ng license kahit wala kang masyadong alam sa traffic rules?
Well,
Or
the first thing that we do is we require professional driver's license. No? But on top of that, we really focus on this training. So yung training po namin libre. We've trained over 100,000 motorcycle riders already, but we've only passed or onboarded 27,000. So marami po talagang bumabaksak. But what we do work with the LGUs, we work with the different government units as well to train riders for free, regardless whether pumasok sila sa angkas o hindi.
yung sinasabi mo, sorry, maraming bumabagsak. So pag gusto nilang maging driver ng angkas, para din silang may exam.
Po,
Parang yung
tama po
exam
yan.
nila for the license.
Practical and written exam po yan.
Okay.
So yun po talaga yung kakulangan po natin eh. And we've proven that when you train the driver, sumusunod po sila eh. Kasi ang safety record po namin is 99.997%. And this is a far cry from the what's happening on the road right now. And I think the only reason why this is happening is because the drivers really don't know how to ride a motorcycle at this point in time. No one
yun
ever
yung
really
una
taught them. Yes.
So yun yung una yung, parang kumbaga magkakaroon talaga ng formal lecture or lesson on how to drive a motorcycle.
So we do have a skills training,
Okay.
practical, and then a formal lesson as well. It's really to standardize, no? That's really the whole point, is to standardize the safety guidelines that every single rider should know, including the passengers.
When you were operating before, ilan ba na yung yung units niya na nag-operate and how many passengers were you catering?
So right now we have about 2 million downloads. Mga 27,000 bikers are on the biker partners are on the road.
So yun yung nakalagay sa guidelines
Yes.
for 27,000
Yes.
drivers.
Opo.
Ano? Pero, Colonel, yung tinatanong ko kanina, kasi based on MMDA data, ang road crashes like for 2017, pinakamaraming killed were because of motorcycle-related incidents.
Yes,
Tama ba yun? Bakit ganon? There are a lot of car crashes or trucks, ganyan, pero nasa motor yung maraming namatay.
Yes, ma'am. There are so many road crashes involving motorcycles because of the safety consideration in riding these motorcycles. Napakadelikado po talagang sumakay sa motorsiklo. It needs focus, it needs proper training. At saka yung mga sumasakay po sa motorsiklo other than the driver, kailangan din po ng proper briefing sa kanila kung anong gagawin nila in case of slips on the road or pagkuha ng proper balance. Kapag wala ho yung mga yan, it contributes dun sa data natin sa mga road crashes, which is why it's very dangerous other than the fact na marami sa ating mga drivers nationwide ng motorsiklo, hindi ho gumagamit ng helmet, mga ganun po. In this venture of Angkas and in collaboration with the technical working group, we are looking into the gaps as Jobert mentioned earlier.
Okay, so we'll talk more about yung sinasabi na requirements, yung use of helmets, tas yung binanggit mo na vest. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. Pero you can join in the conversation. What do you think about our topic this week? We ask you on our social media pages if you would take a motorcycle taxi. You can leave a comment on our Facebook Live and we will read them within the show. We'll be back after a quick break. You're on the record on CNN Philippines. Before we went on a break, we asked you whether you would take a motorcycle taxi. Netizens are divided. Some are saying no because it's too dangerous. Joel Madulid says he has trust issues, although he drives his own motorcycle. Rodolfo Maroto seems to have had a bad experience. He says he won't risk his life again in a two-wheel bike. But others say yes, they would take a motorcycle taxi. Paula Miranda says angkas kuyas are not only nice, they also go through motorcycle skills screening, and she adds she's trusted them since they started. For Jemveric Baroga, yes, he will take a motorcycle taxi at night, but not under the scorching sun. Thank you for your comments. Robert, ano ba yung nakikita nyo dati na problema ng mga, katulad dito, may mga nagsasabi na no, they won't take motorcycle taxis. Ano bang problema ng mga pasahero dito?
Well, it's understandable. Hindi naman kasi para sa lahat ang motorcycle, no? Some go towards that trend because it's more convenient and it's more economical and it gets you through traffic faster. But it's not for everyone. Now, on the street, once you ride a motorcycle, kulang na kulang talaga. Number one, education, which relates to the lack of discipline on the street. So, dama yan eh. Not just the rider, but also the passenger. The passengers are yung pinakamahirap turuan. Kasi, isang malaking factor sa kanila is comfort. So, getting them to wear a helmet, getting them to wear the proper gear, it's the hardest for the passengers as compared to the riders. Kasi the riders have an initial idea na ito kailangan mo.
Kasi nakita ko sa guidelines, meron din for passengers that they have to comply with proper safety gear, seat front facing, nakalagay dito, riders may refuse passengers na under the influence of alcohol. So, paano nyo gagawin, can you demand your passengers to do those things? Or
Yes, ma'am. So that's why one of the conditions of TWG, magkaroon po tayo ng passenger safety campaign. So ito po para turuan talaga yung pasahero kung ano yung responsibility nila para maging sa motorcycle taxi. So they're not actually a passenger, they're a co-rider.
Okay.
So
you don't call them passengers.
Yeah, they're part of the ride. So lalabas po natin dito yung mga kailangan gawin, katulad ng we always wear a helmet. World Health Organization says that when you just wear a helmet properly, it reduces fatalities from head injuries by 40%. So this is a very, very big number. So you're wearing the helmet with two-finger test in between the chin and the strap. That's something that you need to do. And other things like not counter steering. So these are the things that we will be teaching the passenger as well as the driver. Every single booking, before you embark on the booking, the driver will show you a passenger safety card and will go through the different checklists.
You mentioned yung helmet, pati yung paggamit ng vest. Will that involve additional cost for the driver and baka matransfer yan sa passenger? Or anong klaseng, kasi medyo mahigpit ata yung requirement for the helmets.
Yes.
And okay.
Yes, I mean, definitely it will incur additional costs, but right now, the fare matrix will be as is po. Yes.
So for the helmets naman, anong klase? Kailangan bang very strict ba with regards to helmets?
Yeah, so we have a standard in the Philippines po, so we have to follow the lawful standards that's put in place.
Okay, isa pang gusto kong itanong, nakalagay kasi dito yung accident threshold, 5% of, what does this mean?
So basically, 5% of total rides, we need to be able to manage the threshold po. So you have to be under that
So
that
dapat
5%
yung mga
threshold.
aksidente nyo is
Less than 5%
So
of
ngayon,
total
sa totoong buhay, ano ba nangyayari? Kasi
0.003% po ang aming accident rate.
in spite of yung MMDA data
Yes.
na madaming motorcycle crashes.
Yes, this is because we train all our drivers 100%.
So you're very confident that you can make the 5% threshold?
Very confident.
Okay. But overall, kung magkakaroon ng batas, ano talaga yung gusto nyong pinaka-importanting maging feature?
It should relate to everybody using the motorcycle as a mode of hanap buhay. For example, yung mga delivery boys natin, messengers, syempre may ibang papasok din sa avenue of motorcycle taxi. And then it rolls over to the private citizens using motorcycles. So we have to increase the standard in order for us to address the number of accidents related to motorcycles. Kasi nga, we want to set that standard so that we can educate them and we can teach them discipline and bring them back to the regulations of the street. Kasi nga, nakakalimutan nila, sometimes ang nangyayari pa, may instances that they are forced to not follow the rules because even enforcement sometimes allows them, katulad ng mga zipper lane, they've been allowed to disregard the stoplight. So we're bringing back the regulations, and the standard will put them on that level again.
Colonel Paso, on the part of HPG or law enforcers, dapat ba mas mataas yung mga fines? Paano bang...
Yes, ma'am. With respect to the fines, it will be imposed later on by the legislators. However, Unang-una po kasi concern yung HPG dun sa safety in the use of motorcycles in order to reduce yung data natin sa road crashes. Which is why dun nga po sa technical working group wherein we deliberated on the parameters for this for the use of motorcycle taxis, we made it sure na yung training na ginagawa para dun sa mga drivers and training para dun sa mga pasahero, they will somehow meet the standards of safety na ini-impose ng HPG dun sa aming mga own riders of the HPG. Pati yung trainings. And when we try to look into the training facility of Angkas, nakita po namin na although hindi siya 100% compliant, it's more than sufficient para makita namin na yung mga magiging driver ng motorcycle at saka yung mga pasahero, they will be safe. Although we introduced some, we recommended some measures para mas mapaganda pa yung training nila, pero overall maganda na po yung kanilang training din.
Okay, ang angkas naman, anong number one na isusulong nyo dito sa magiging batas? If
Safety.
ever.
So the training of the drivers is very, very important. So we cannot compromise on the safety standards. Yun po talaga yung pinaka-importante. Ito yung mura po kumuha ng motorsiklo. 3,000 may motorsiklo na po kayo. There are 18 million motorcycles on the road right now. Only 6 million is registered sa LTO. At lahat po to, marami po sa kanila talagang hindi dumaan sa kahit anong training. So hindi po talaga sila nga marunong magmotor. So kung sinasagi kayo or kung gumagewang-gewang sa daan, alam po natin is because hindi po sila nagkaroon ng formal training.
Okay. Tingnan natin yung scenario when you actually do the pilot implementation. Tell us more about it when we come back. We'll be back after a quick break. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. You're watching On the Record on CNN Philippines. So we expect the pilot implementation of motorcycle taxis starting, Angkas is saying possibly by
Hopefully
next week.
po, yes.
And then, explain nyo lang sa akin, bakit Angkas ang partner ng DOTR dito?
So basically po, the idea of, part po to ng TWG. So ongoing pa rin po yung TWG efforts. In fact, ito pong pilota na to is to really test whether sustainable ba yung safety measures na ginagawa po ni Angkas. So hopefully, kung mapapatunayan po ng Angkas yun, isasama po sa deliberations sa Kongreso at Senado para maging batas so that we can open it to everyone already.
So, but at this point, exclusive to Angkas yung pilot testing?
Well, right now, yung tinetest po talaga, yung pilot is for the testing of the Angkas safety guidelines.
That's a lot of
yes.
responsibility on Angkas.
It is. But, we're ready to take the challenge and we believe that, motorcycle taxis are here to stay. Hindi naman po mawawala itong negosyo na to na ginagawa ng milyong-milyon na tao sa Pilipinas. So we want to be able to spearhead this and also make sure that we have the safety standards in place for motorcycle taxis.
So, may date na kayo when you plan to start and then which areas? Kasi ang nasa guidelines is Manila and Cebu, Metro Manila and Cebu.
Tama po yan, ma'am. So Metro Manila po at Cebu, magsisimula yung pilot. We're right now retraining all of our drivers with the additional safety conditions. Hopefully po by next week sana po, we're out in the streets na. Yeah.
And then let's talk about the fare. Nakalagay dito kasi 50 pesos for first 2 kilometers.
Yes.
Then, ganito yung pricing nyo even before.
Hindi naman po nagpalit. Yes, ma'am.
So ito rin yung susundan. So walang ikakatakot yung mga pasahero na baka madagdagan.
Wala po.
Tanong ko lang si Colonel Paz, manghuhuli na kayo manghuhuli kayo pag nangyari itong pilot test. Baka sabihin, pilot test lang naman po to. Sabihin ng mga
Yes ma'am, right now, whether we like it or not, maraming mga motorsiklo na kumukuha ng pasahero for a fee. Whether angkas or not, may mga habal-habal tayo. And these are colorum vehicles, yung mga habal-habal kapag meron silang mga sinasakyan na pasahero and collecting for a fee, transforming the private vehicle into a public transport vehicle. So, huliin po natin yan under our anti-colorum drive.
So, pag nag-start sila? Oo.
Pag nag-start po sila...
Yun na nga, baka sabihin, pilot
hindi
test lang to,
identified-
sir. Baka sabihin ganon.
meron naman po silang authority from the Department Order of the DOTR, so we will respect that.
Okay. Pero manghuhuli nga kayo talaga pag clear na may violation.
Yes, ma'am, that there will be no exceptions.
Pero for now nga, ibig sabihin nun, George, pwede nang mag-download ulit at mag-book. You will announce when you will start.
Yes, ma'am. We will do po.
So anong pagbabago dito? Kasi syempre kung pasahero ka before, anong dapat mong tandaan?
Ngayon, mas malaki na po yung responsibilidad ng pasahero. Hindi lang, kasi po, nakapakita na po natin na tinitrain natin yung drivers. Paano naman po yung pasahero? Pareho po silang nakasakay dun sa motorsiklo at yung pareho po silang responsibilidad na ibalanse yung motorsiklo. So that's gonna be very important right now. So ang i-expect po ng pasahero is meron na siyang mga kailangan gawin at kailangan tandaan. Bawal po ang telepono, tama na po yung pag-selfie habang nagmumotor. So these are the things that the passengers really need to put into consideration.
Tsaka kailangan naka-helmet.
Opo, definitely, ma'am.
Oo, Jobert, ikaw naman, anong paalala mo sa mga, not just for the drivers and passengers?
Well, again, it's all about safety. Yan ang primordial concern natin dito. Kaya nabuo yung TWG, kaya pinayagan yan ng DOTR, is because we want to enforce the existing rules and regulations na nandyan na, in place na. Pagsusuot ng helmet, hindi dapat nakatsinelas pagka nagmumotorsiklo. As for the passengers, dapat front-facing. So all these things, together with the standards and parameters being set by the TWG, hopefully mag-domino effect yan into the future. At may angat na natin yung antas ng riding community, mabawasan yung aksidente, and we get more disciplined riders on the street.
Pero tama ba yung naalala ko before na pag bibili ka ng motor, parang yung mga companies also give training din?
There was an idea coming from the president that mandatory na yung training pag-release ng bagong motorsiklo sa bagong rider. It's still being deliberated in both houses. And hopefully, dito rin kukunin yung platform sa ginagawa sa professional. Then pati sa private, ito tone down lang ng konting-konti so that the private riders will have a parameter that they will follow also.
Si Colonel Paz naman, ano bang, yung kanina parang sinasabi nyo kasi minsan, di ba, wala sa tamang lane, yung mga, ano ba dapat ang, kung nakikita mong problema, at anong dapat tandaan ng mga motorcycle drivers?
Yes, ma'am. Unang-una po, nakikita natin na yung mga accidents natin, they are related with speed, dun sa proper position nila dun sa kalsada. So dito po sa pilot testing natin, we made it a point na under maximum na speed nila is only 60. And then they will be making use of the motorcycle lane provided, especially here in EDSA.
Pero ang daming hindi gumagamit ng motorcycle lane eh.
Hopefully this time, ma'am, ito po, masunod nila. Because if they will be violating, we will be needing the reports from dun sa mga witnesses natin para ma-measure natin yung performance nitong angkas later on.
Tapos mas malaman natin kung saan talaga tayo magfo-focus when it comes to yung violations and
Yes,
yung ano. Yung last question ko na lang kay George. So after all this, do you think, are you confident na maipapasa na finally yung batas for the use of motorcycle taxis?
Well, I'm hopeful. This bill has been there for the longest time in Congress. Last Congress, it was passed unanimously, 18100. Hindi lang tayo umabot sa Senate, unfortunately. Marami na po tayong sumusuporta sa atin sa Kongreso at Senado na magpa-file ng bill. And, we hope talaga that because we have this unique opportunity na pwede po natin i-test run muna yung batas, so to speak, bago po natin isa batas para sa buong Pilipinas, we're hopeful that we have all the right tools to be able to make it happen.
So this will go on for 6 months, tama ba?
Opo, tama
And then
po yun, ma'am.
at the end of the 6-month trial period, magsasubmit na kayo ng recommendations?
Even within the 6-month
Okay.
period, we will be conducting already in aid of legislation activities. So kung pinatawag po tayo ng Kongreso, Senado, even bago matapos yung 6 months, i-deliberate na po yan.
Okay. Thank you very much to our guests, George Royeca from Angkas, Jobert Bolaños of the Motorcycle Rights Organization, and Darwin Paz of the Highway Patrol Group. That's on the record. Thank you for watching. I'm Ruth Cabal.